The Joseph Principle: How to Prosper When the Economy Crashes. The world's money is about to break. In the next 60 minutes, I'm going to show you how a prisoner from 3,000 years ago predicted a massive economic crash and became the richest man on earth while everyone else lost everything. If you don't follow these 3 steps, your bank account could hit zero. But if you do, you'll be the one in charge. Let's go. Part 1. The King's Nightmare: The Big Problem. Imagine a king who has everything: golden crowns, silk robes, and a fridge that's always stocked with the best snacks. He's powerful, but one night, he has a dream so weird and spooky that it keeps him awake until sunrise. The story: The Battle of the Cows. Picture this like a cartoon strip. Scene 1. The king is standing by a beautiful blue river. Out of the water comes 7 massive, happy, chunky cows. They are grazing on lush green grass, looking like they've never missed a meal in their lives. They represent total abundance. Scene 2. Suddenly, the water ripples again. Out come 7 scraggly, bony, zombie cows. They look hungry, grumpy, and weak. Scene 3. Instead of eating the grass, the skinny cows do something impossible. They eat the fat cows. But here's the kicker. Even after eating the big cows, the skinny cows still look just as starving and rib-thin as before. The king wakes up in a cold sweat. "What on earth does this mean?" he shouts. None of his smart advisors can figure it out. The translation: Joseph breaks it down. The king calls in a guy named Joseph, who has a reputation for solving mysteries. Joseph looks at the dream and doesn't sugarcoat the truth. "Your Majesty, it's a cosmic weather report. The 7 fat cows are 7 years of plenty. The sun will shine, the crops will grow like crazy, and everyone will feel like they're swimming in money and food. It's going to be a giant party." But then Joseph's face gets serious. The 7 skinny cows are 7 years of famine. Immediately after the party, the world is going to run dry. No rain, no crops, and no money. These years will be so bad that people will totally forget how good the fat years even felt. The skinny cows will eat your savings alive. The lesson: don't fall for the fat cow trap. Right now, we are all living in the world of the fat cows. When we have a little extra money in our pockets, our brains play a trick on us. They whisper, "This will last forever. Go ahead, buy that extra toy, the fancy candy, and the latest gadget." This is the trap. Most people spend every single penny they make during the plenty years because they think the sun will never stop shining. They treat the fat cows like they are infinite. But the lesson Joseph taught the king is the secret to true wealth. 1. Recognize the season. Just because you have a fat cow today doesn't mean a skinny cow isn't waiting around the corner. 2. The skinny cow law. If you don't save during the years of plenty, the years of famine won't just be uncomfortable, they will be a disaster. 3. The illusion of wealth. Spending all your money on toys and candy today makes you look rich for a minute, but it leaves you totally defenseless when the world runs out. The king realized that if he didn't change his ways, his whole kingdom would disappear. He had to stop eating all the grain today so he'd have something for tomorrow.
Part 2. The 20% Rule: The Secret Shield. Once the king realized the skinny cows were coming, he panicked. "What do we do? Do we stop eating? Do we hide in a cave?" Joseph shook his head and pulled out a chalkboard. He didn't have a magic wand. He had a plan. The simple math: the 10-apple strategy. Joseph's plan was built on one specific number: 20%. In the ancient world, this was a tax or a store, but for us, it's the golden rule of saving. Joseph explained it to the king like this. The rule: every time the kingdom brings in a harvest, we take 20%, that's 1/5, and we lock it in a giant stone vault. We pretend it doesn't exist. The visualization: imagine you have 10 shiny red apples. The 8 apples, you can eat these. You can make applesauce, share them with friends, or bake a pie. This is your lifestyle. The 2 apples, these are the sacred 2. You put them in a sturdy crate, nail it shut, and hide it in the cellar. The golden law: no matter how much your tummy rumbles, and no matter how much you want a snack today, you do not touch those 2 apples. Those apples aren't for today's hunger. They are for tomorrow's survival. The visualization: the magic of the buffer bucket. Think of your savings like a giant wooden bucket sitting under a slow-dripping faucet. The drip, each time you save 20%, it's like adding a few cups of water to the bucket. At first, it looks like nothing. The bottom of the bucket is barely wet. You might think, why am I doing this? I could be drinking this water now. But as the fat cow years go on, the water level rises. Halfway, 3/4, eventually the bucket is overflowing. This is called a buffer. A buffer is the space between everything is fine and total disaster. The person with no buffer lives check to check, eats all 10 apples. When the store closes or the car breaks, they panic. They are a slave to the skinny cow years. The person with a buffer, Joseph's plan, lives on 80%, saves 2 apples. When a skinny cow appears, they stay calm. They own the store. While others are starving, they have plenty to share.
The strategy, storing for the storm. Joseph didn't just tell the king to save, he told him to build granaries, giant storage skyscrapers. He knew that if the grain was just sitting in people's pockets, they would spend it on toys and candy the moment they got bored. Automate the hide. You have to move the 20% away from your sight. If you see the money in your wallet, you'll treat it like a fat cow snack. Expect the famine. Saving isn't pessimism, it's being prepared. Joseph knew the drought was a mathematical certainty. The power shift. Joseph told the king, if we have the grain and nobody else does, you won't just survive the famine, you will lead the world. By hiding those 2 apples every single time, the king stopped being a victim of the future and started becoming the master of it. Part 3. The pivot, the skill secret. The famine finally arrived. The sky turned gray, the dirt cracked, and the skinny cows began to roam. Everyone who spent their money on toys and candy was suddenly in big trouble. But while the king had the grain, he had something even more important, Joseph. The lesson, the real reason Joseph was the boss. Have you ever wondered why the king, the most powerful man in the world, didn't just throw Joseph back in a cell after he heard the dream? It's because Joseph had something better than a pile of gold. He had a problem-solving brain. The problem, the king was terrified of the future and didn't know how to save his people. The solution, Joseph was the only one who could see the invisible problem and build a plan to fix it. The golden truth. Money isn't just a shiny coin or a piece of paper. Money is just a thank you note for solving a problem. If you solve a tiny problem, like picking up a piece of trash, you get a tiny thank you, a little money. If you solve a massive, kingdom-sized problem, like saving a country from starving, you get a massive thank you. Grade 4 logic, the bicycle rule. Imagine there's a massive storm in your neighborhood. All the cars are stuck, and everyone has to ride their bicycles to get to the grocery store. But then, crunch, everyone's bike chain snaps at the same time. Person A has $100 in their pocket, but has no idea how a bike works. They are stuck. Person B, you have $0, but you spent your fat cow years learning exactly how to fix bike chains. Who is more powerful? In a skinny cow year, the person with the super skill is the winner. Everyone will bring their food, their supplies, and their thank you notes, money, to you because you are the only one who can solve their problem. The secret, to survive a crash or a famine, you don't just need a buffer bucket of money, you need a buffer bucket of skills. The visualization, the super skill shield. Think of your brain like a toolbox. Most people leave their toolbox empty and just hope they can buy what they need later. But skinny cow years are when things get expensive and hard to find. Identify your super skill. What is something you can do that is hard for others? Coding, fixing things, explaining math, cooking, leading a team? Level up during the fat years. While everyone else is playing video games or eating candy, Joseph was studying and learning. He used the quiet times to become a master. Become the only. When you are the only person who knows how to fix the problem, you don't have to worry about the famine. The famine actually makes you more valuable. Summary, the 3 keys to the kingdom. To be like Joseph and survive the skinny cows, you need all 3 parts of the story. Awareness, knowing the skinny cows are coming so you don't get surprised. The 20% rule, keeping 2 out of every 10 apples to build your buffer. The pivot, using your time to learn a super skill so people will always say thank you to you. Part 4, buying the dip, the prosperity. The skinny cow years have finally arrived, and the world looks like a scary movie. The ground is cracked, the shops are empty,
and everyone who spent their fat years on toys and candy is now in a total panic. But this is exactly where the story takes a turn from survival to massive prosperity. The strategy, the great clearance sale. When a crash happens, people get desperate. Because they didn't save their 2 apples, they start looking around their houses for anything they can trade just to get a sandwich. This creates a massive shift in how much things cost. The panic. Imagine someone owns a huge, beautiful farm worth $1,000, but they are starving today. They get so scared that they tell Joseph, "I'll give you my whole farm for just 1 loaf of bread." The Joseph advantage. Because Joseph followed the 20% rule, his buffer bucket, the royal granaries, was overflowing with grain. He didn't need to sell anything. In fact, he was the only one with the power to buy. Buying the dip. Joseph didn't steal, he provided exactly what people needed, food, in exchange for what they were throwing away, land and shops. While prices were crashing to the floor, Joseph was picking up the best assets in the kingdom for a clearance sale price. The mindset. While others are crying, Josephs are buying. Most people see a crash or a famine as the end of the world. They see red numbers and shrinking bank accounts, and they run away in fear. But Joseph had a different mindset. He knew a secret. Wealth doesn't disappear during a crash, it just changes hands. Fear versus preparation. If you aren't prepared, a crash is a nightmare. If you are prepared with your 20% buffer, a crash is the biggest opportunity of your life. The clearance sale logic. Think of it like your favorite toy store. If a gaming console costs $500 on Monday, but the store has a disaster sale and sells it for $50 on Tuesday, you don't cry, you go find every dollar you saved and buy as many as you can. The transfer of wealth. In the Bible story, Joseph ended up owning almost all the land for the king. Why? Because he was the only one who had the apples when the apples were the most valuable thing on earth. The Joseph rule. The best time to build a kingdom is when everyone else is too scared to keep theirs. The big picture, from prisoner to ruler. Joseph started as a guy in a dungeon with nothing but a dream. By understanding these 4 parts, he became the most powerful man in Egypt, second only to the king. Phase, action, result. The dream. He saw the skinny cows coming. He wasn't surprised by the bad times. The 20% rule. He saved 2 out of every 10 apples. He had a massive buffer bucket. The skill. He solved a problem no one else could. He became the boss of the kingdom. The dip. He bought land when it was cheap. He owned the future. I export to sheets. Final lesson for you. You don't need to be a king to act like Joseph. You just need to realize that the skinny cows always come eventually. It's just how the world works. If you keep your 20%, build your super skills, and stay calm when everyone else is crying, you won't just survive the famine. You'll be the one helping everyone else get through it.
The summary. Your roadmap to the kingdom. We've covered the nightmares, the apples, the bicycles, and the clearance sales. Now it's time to take the crown. The world is full of people wandering around in the dark, but you just turned the lights on. Your 3-step Joseph plan. To turn a skinny cow year into your greatest victory, you only need to do 3 things. Most people will do 0 of them. That is why they stay stuck. You are different. Stop the fat cow waste. Right now, the sun is shining. It's easy to spend every dollar on toys and candy because it feels like the money will never stop. Stop. Look at your spending and identify the waste. Every extra apple you eat today is one you won't have when the famine hits. Build your storehouse. Follow the 20% rule. Take 2 out of every 10 apples and hide them. Whether it's cash in a high-yield account, physical gold, or long-term food, you need a buffer bucket that is separate from your daily life. If you can't see it, you can't spend it. This is your shield. Master a problem-solving skill. Don't just save money, save knowledge. Become the person who can fix the broken bicycles of the world. Whether it's learning how to code, how to lead people, or how to fix a physical engine, a super skill is a currency that never loses its value, even when the banks are closed. The final punchline. The economy isn't a monster under the bed, and it isn't a scary mystery. The economy is just a map. Most people are lost in the woods, crying because it's starting to rain. But Joseph had the map. He knew the storm was coming, and he built a palace before the first drop fell. Now, you have the map too. The skinny cows are coming. That's a guarantee. The only question is, will you be the one selling your farm for a loaf of bread? Or will you be the one with the keys to the granary?